Well, it's nice to know that in the middle of winter we can still get things growing. These are our cabbages that will need to be planted out in the spring. It's been an incredibly wet winter so far for us, and the allotment is doing a very good impersonation of the Battle of the Somme with all the mud. But we keep persevering, so welcome to Self-Sufficient in Suburbia for the early winter of 2013 and 2014. Well, it's late December now, and last month we hatched 2 ducklings, and they're now big enough to go out onto the allotment. Now obviously, because it's winter, then we can't just let them onto the allotment without any protection, so they're going into the greenhouse here, which we spent the morning clearing out. Back home we've got a couple more ducklings that hatched a week ago, and it'll be another month before they come over here to the allotment as well. But these 2 little guys are now too big for the nursery unit back home, and their home now is the greenhouse for a few weeks before they get big enough to be released fully onto the allotment, and hopefully they'll join the flock of other ducks that we've got here. Whether they're going to come racing out. No, they're not. Right. Come on, you 2. Come on, there you go. Come on. There you go. And there you go. Probably going to be a bit nervous for a few hours, but they should settle down. We've got water there, and a little duck house there, and as you can see the floor's being cleared, and should be big enough for the 2 of them for the next few weeks, and then they get let out. Off to explore already. These are some of our pork sausages that we made earlier this year from our Tamworth pig, and they've got a bit of sage in as well. Now they've been in the freezer for a while, and we've decided it's time to use them. So what we're going to do is make a sausage and vegetable casserole. Now all the vegetables we're going to use are from our allotment, or we've swapped with other allotment holders for them. So we're going to put in some artichokes and some potatoes, a turnip, this is an interesting one, bit of pumpkin, bit of marrow, an onion, and because we're putting pork sausages in, we're going to put in a bit of apple as well. I've chopped the pumpkin, the turnip, the apple and the onion. They have all gone into the pan, but the next job to do is to brown the sausages in the frying pan. So whilst you're frying the sausages, put a kettle of water on to make some stock. Now remember, the sausages don't need to be cooked through on the frying pan, they just need to be browned on the outside, so just a few minutes for them before putting them into the casserole pan. And then I'm going to add the last few vegetables. So in go the potatoes and a handful of artichokes, and then we'll add the stock. We're going to give it about half an hour to start with, but obviously it needs its lid on, so we'll return to that a bit later. Well, the vegetables now look as if they're done, but we think this needs to be thickened up a bit, just a little bit, to make it a bit thicker throughout. And that's a little bit of corn flour that we added there. A little bit more. And just let that mix through for a couple of minutes, and then this should be ready. Oh, that is very nice. Oh, lovely. We've just picked up another 6 hens to add to our flock. Now, it's been nearly a year since we've bought any hens, and in that time we've had a number of deaths, and we lost 1 hen to foxes. So we needed to bring the numbers back up. So we've got these 6 hens. We'll be getting a few more soon, and we've also got some hatching eggs as well, which will go into our incubator. But we're going to put these new ones into this hen house here. We'll leave them in there for half an hour or so, just to let them settle down, and then we'll open it up and they can then come out and mix with this lot, who no doubt will be curious to know what's going on. Well, they've been in here for a few minutes now, so we're going to let them out. They'll come out at their own pace and see how the other birds react to them. This is another bucket of elderberries. This one I picked yesterday. I've already picked lots of other buckets of elderberries this year. Absolutely fantastic elderberry crop. And we've already made them into jelly, and most of this lot is going to be made into red wine, elderberry wine, but we've got enough to be able to make some elderberry gin. Now, here is 400 grams of elderberries already measured out into a storage jar, and I'm going to add into that 200 grams of sugar. Next, you'll need a 70 centilitre bottle of gin. Now, you do not need your top of the range expensive brands of gin for this. This is just a supermarket brand. It's a cheap one, and we're simply going to improve it by adding it to the elderberries. So we've closed the jar. I'm just going to give it a bit of a shake up, and what we're going to do is, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to give it a bit of a shake every 2 or 3 days to make sure that all that sugar is dissolved, and the colouring will percolate out into the gin, as will the flavours of the elderberry as well. But for a couple of weeks it's a bit of intensive shaking, and then we'll let it settle down for a couple of months. It's now 3 months on from when we set the elderberry gin away, and that is what we have. You can see a beautiful dark red liquid in there. So we're going to bottle that up now, but just before we do, I'm just going to show you another one that I made. This is actually an elderberry and apple vodka. So we're going to bottle that one up at the same time. Well, there we have, that's one and a little bit of a bottle. Still got a beautiful colour to it. Now I'm going to have a tiny little shot of this, purely to check that it's okay, but I'm driving tonight, so it really does have to be just a little taster. Oh, lovely. Well, I'm pleased to say as well that we're in the, I haven't quite got the apple and the elderberry vodka bottled up yet, but as you can see I've just started to strain it now, so they'll be going into my drinks cabinet. So remember, drink sensibly. If you get so plastered when you drink something, you've drunk too much and you won't remember how good it tastes, so enjoy it in moderation. So I have that tiny little bit there, and then that lot is going into the cupboard. This is one of the 2 ducklings that hatched last month, hatched in December. About 4 weeks old now, and they're now too big for the incubator box, the nursery box here. So we're going to take them over to the allotment where we've created a run. Now the challenge we're going to face is that we have some 2-month-old ducklings over there, elder brother and sister of these 2, and we're going to have to try and integrate the two couples together, and that might be a bit of a challenge, but we've set up a new run and we're going to try and do that this afternoon, aren't we? Moving time for you. Well, it's now the morning after the night before, and as you can see, the ducklings are together in the temporary duck run that we've created, and we put them in the duck house there last night. We put the younger ones in first, and then an hour later we put the older ones in. There's no fighting, and they seem to have bonded together as a group. And interestingly, this morning when I opened everything up, the older ducks took quite an interest in them as well. So I'm hoping that when we let them out from this duck run in a couple of weeks' time, that they will bond with the older group and form one group of 9. This is the smallest of 4 pumpkins that we got, and what we're going to have a go at doing today is to turn at least some of this into pumpkin chutney. Well, we have in the pan the pumpkin already chopped. Now what I'm going to do is give you the quantities as per 1.5 kilos of pumpkin, but in the pan 1.5 kilos of pumpkin chopped with 1/2 kilo of chopped apples, and we will then add to that, doing this rather carefully, we have 4 tomatoes, 2 small to medium sized onions all chopped, and 125 grams of seedless raisins. They go into the pan as well. Next to go in is 125 grams of sugar. You can use white sugar or brown sugar. That goes into the pan. You may find it's not quite sweet enough for your taste, but check that a bit later in the cooking process. If you want it a little bit sweeter, just add a little bit more sugar in. Next we have 2 teaspoonfuls of salt, 1 of ground cinnamon, 1 of ground allspice, and 1 of ground pepper. And finally 75 centilitres or 750 mils of white wine vinegar. Then apply heat. This has now been simmering away for about an hour, so still quite some way to go, and I've tested it as well and it's quite tart, so I'm going to add just a little bit of sugar. Again, it's very much to taste, but didn't really want it to be too tart because it tastes, it's meant to be a sort of slightly sweet chutney, so added a bit of sugar in, but this has still got some way to go because there's quite a bit of liquid still in this, and I want to drive that liquid off and let this thicken up a bit. As you can see, this has now reduced down quite a bit, and it's also quite a thick sauce in it as well. So this is now ready to go into hot sterilised jars. Here we have one of the jars that we've just made. I'll put it down because it's a bit hot. So it's a good one to have with cheeses or with cold meats. Back in our spare room now, the ducklings have been moved over to the allotment, but what we've got in here is our incubator, and for the past 2.5 weeks we've had some of these eggs in the incubator. We've got 10 of them, and these are eggs from a breed of hen called Exchequer Leghorn, and our aim is to build up our stock of hens and hopefully get 1 or 2 cockerels from that batch as well. But these are due to hatch over the weekend, so it's about 5 more days for these to go, and hopefully we'll get all 10 hatched and we'll be able to add them to our flock of 20 hens that we've already got. We're having a bit of a game day today because a friend has dropped us off a couple of pheasants, and we paid for them with 4 jars of our preserves, and more recently I lent a friend of mine this. This is my air rifle, and he was off to shoot some bunnies, and he got a number of them, and as a thank you for lending the gun, he's dropped this off for me. So what we're going to do now is skin and gut this rabbit. First job after that is to remove the legs at the joint. But one of the things I want to do with this bunny is to actually save its fur, because we're going to at some point in the future assemble a fur coat for myself. Now I reckon I'll need about 30 of those skins, of those pelts. So I've got one in the freezer, I've got that one there, only 28 to go. Right, a sharp knife or pair of heavy duty scissors and cut up the legs so that we can eventually peel this back, peel back the skin. Well, as you can see, I've now rolled back the skin from down the legs, and I can get my finger through there, my thumb rather, so I'm going to cut that, and then this is going to be the challenging bit, because I'm going to try and roll this right the way down the body. But as you can see, you need to just roll it down, peeling it down until you get to the neck. As you can see, the guts are starting to spill out a bit, so I'm going to take those out, because what we don't want is the digestive tract to burst and rupture all over the meat. So I just need to get the skin over the legs and down to the neck like this. Goes. Right, I've cut off the tail, and as you can see, that's the body now ready to have a quick rinse before it goes into the freezer, because we're not using this fresh. Obviously we don't need the head left on the skin, so that can go off. And as you can see, it is still as a tube of fur, I suppose you could describe it. Now that will be wrapped in greaseproof paper, and we'll put that in the freezer and keep adding to them as we get more furs, more rabbit skins in, and eventually when we've got enough of them, I'll be making myself that fur coat that I've promised. Well, look at that. We've had in the incubator for the past few weeks some hen eggs. These are exchequer leghorns, and we had 10 eggs, but unfortunately only 3 of them hatched. But these are now a few days old, and they'll stay here for a few weeks yet before they go to the allotment. Now, exchequer leghorns are on the Rare Breed Survival Trust's at risk register, so we're hoping to breed some of these in the future. But as I say, only 3 of the eggs hatched, so we may end up at some point getting some more exchequer leghorn eggs, and we're hoping there might even be a cockerel amongst these. We have no idea at the moment what sex they are, but if all 3 survive, we'll keep all 3, because we need a cockerel for all our hens anyway. But at the moment they're very small, and they're chirping away quite a bit, as you can hear, but it's a few weeks yet before we move these to join the flock. It's now a rather pleasant winter afternoon. The sun's getting quite low in the sky, and it's directly in front of me. So what am I doing here? Well, this is an area of land that belongs to Gateshead Council, and when the cuts started happening to councils a few years ago, the council stopped cutting the land that was here, and really the land had never been used for anything beforehand. It was just a big open space, and even the kids didn't play football here, but it was cut every few weeks in the summer months, and then that stopped because of the austerity cuts. And some of us thought, well, actually this site could be used for something more worthwhile and something of benefit to the community, and we came up with the idea of a community orchard. Now, back in 2012, the first trees went into the orchard here. We've got 40 trees, fruit trees planted, and a couple of weeks ago a company called Chris Bowers, who are based in Norfolk, and they're a nursery, offered some trees to me if I put a link for them on my self-sufficiency blog, and I replied back saying, would love you to donate the trees, but could you give them to the community orchard instead? And that's what they did. So they sent us 6 trees, and a few days ago we had a planting session here where local residents and also some of the local police cadets came up to get the trees planted. Now at the moment The site is still only used in part, and it's a huge site, and in years to come we hope to have the whole of it planted out, maybe part of it used for some kind of community garden. But generally the idea is that over the years to come we'll have a great, wonderful community orchard here, and people can come along and pick the fruit and use it to eat or to make jams or preserves or whatever. But it'll help actually increase the local food supply. So this project still has a long way to go, but thanks to Chris Bowers, the nursery, we've got a few more trees planted. This has just arrived in the post. This is the start of a new project that we're about to do. As you can see, we have a dozen quail eggs. Now these are Japanese quail, and these are about to go into the incubator, and the aim is to set up a colony of quails. Now people pay a lot of money for quail eggs, so we're hoping eventually that the colony we set up produces a cash crop for us. Now we will use some of the eggs ourselves, and we'll also trade for them, but this is about making the self-sufficiency project pay. So hopefully soon, well not necessarily soon, but sometime later this year, we'll be selling quail eggs as well as selling duck and hen eggs. This is one of our marrows that we're having it stuffed, and it's a vegetarian meal, so we've cheated a bit because we've bought that vegetarian mince, so it's not mince or sausage meat from our Tamworth pig, but it's just a way of using up the vegetables. And the marrows were picked in September last year. We traded for them, so we're going to have to get them used up over the next few weeks. So we thought way to do that is to have one of our marrows stuffed for dinner. Well, that's it for this edition of Self-Sufficient in Suburbia. Join us again in a month's time when hopefully things will be a bit drier than we've had over the past few weeks.